Welcome, crypto fam, to the number one daily Bitcoin pod. In today's show, I'll be sharing the latest Bitcoin technical analysis, everything you need to know in the market. Breaking news, Czech Republic signed the law removing capital gains tax on Bitcoin after 3 years of hodling. Also, Eric Trump says, feels like a great time to enter Bitcoin. Send it. We'll also be discussing Satoshi Nakamoto still holding $107 billion worth of Bitcoin in thousands of wallets, according to Arkham Intelligence. We'll also be discussing BlackRock to launch the Bitcoin ETP in Europe. I'm breaking down this latest report, as well as South Dakota likely to lead the nation with the first Bitcoin reserve, according to their state rep, as well as breaking news, MicroStrategy rebrands to Strategy while adopting the Bitcoin logo. And quoting Jan 3 founder Samson Mow, it's not going to be a gradual slow increase to 1 million of Bitcoin, but rather a very short and violent upheaval that sends us there in a matter of weeks to months. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All of this, plus so much more, in today's show. But yeah, let's kick this mofo off. If you're new to the channel, important to smash the likes, go ahead, subscribe, then ring the bell. Turn on all notifications. That way you get notified each and every day when I go live, as I go live at different times. So if you don't have notifications turned on, you're missing out. Today is pod episode number 1898. I'm your host, JV. It's February 6th, 2025. Market is currently correction. We're maintaining just above 96.6 and falling down at the current time of the live stream. Let's kick it off with our market watch, as we do each and every day. You should be able to see on your screen here, Coin360, you can see all the major cryptos correcting in the red. XRP down 6% on the day. Ether down 2.5%. Solana down 5%. Cardano down 6%. And checking out CoinMarketCap.com. The current crypto market cap sits at $3.15 trillion. The Bitcoin market cap, $1.9 trillion. We got roughly 125 billion worth of volume for the past 24 hours. And the Bitcoin dominance is currently 60.9%, with the Ether dominance at 10.4%. Checking out top 100 crypto gainers of the past 24 hours. We got Bera leading the pack up a modest 1%, because virtually everything's correcting in the red. You just got Bera, Monero, and Tron virtually in the green. The rest of the market is bloodshed. And checking out the crypto bubbles, we get a visual perspective on the day. 97% of the market, bloodshed, wreck city. Zooming out on the monthly, not looking much prettier. It's even worse, actually. A lot of these alts down anywhere from 30 to 80% on average. So be careful with the shitcoinery, fam. And checking out the Crypto Greed and Fear Index. Today, we're still neutral, 49. Yesterday, 54. Last week at 70. And last month at 78. In extreme greed. And checking out the time chain calendar. We're on block height number 882,562. We got 167,438 blocks until the next halving. TikTok next block every 10 minutes. And you can currently exchange one fiat monopoly dollar for 1,036 sats. So pick up the sats, put down the gats, and pick up some Bitcoin caps from my man Sergio. Get a custom Bukele camo just like this bad boy over at bitcoincaps.net. Let's dive into today's astrology for the broskies. The headline here reads, Bitcoin enjoys plenty of demand at 98 as the analyst's eye the relative strength index breakout. Here you're looking at a 1 hour chart. I'll pull up the live charts when I'm done with this. Circling 98,000 Feb 6 for the Wall Street Open as the traders flag multiple bull signals. Trading views showed consolidation taking over the biddy, which traded right in a tight channel, and while still unable to tackle the 100,000 psychological mark, Bitcoin cooled the volatility as the market participants adopted a wait and see attitude. Quoting trader Jelly, higher low locking in. Objective remains the same, reclaiming 100K. Coincidentally, the range mid-level as well. Flip that and another test of 110 is next. And another analyst, Dan Crypto Trades, identified spot market demand as the reason for the optimism about the biddy price trajectory. Quoting him here, Bitcoin trading at a pretty solid spot premium, showing there's plenty of spot demand around these levels, which have made it so Bitcoin has held strong during the recent turbulence. And another chart demonstrated derivative traders' relative caution versus the spot buyers, quoting Dan Crypto Trades. With the spot ETFs and institutions like Strategy, formerly known as MicroStrategy, accumulating coins at a rapid pace, there's a constant changing of the hands, a changing of the guard. I think this should eventually lead to the supply drying up around this region and moving higher. Supply shock, fam, the lowest amount of Bitcoin available on the exchanges, and only a matter of time for all the biddies are gone and we get a parabolic super cycle rise. I'm anticipating it. The RSI is holding support at the channel bottom in preparation for the rally for the channel top over time. Now, Bitcoin crypto lack upside catalysts, according to QCP. In particular, geopolitical events could spark another trip lower, which is precisely what we're seeing now. Quoting them here, Bitcoin resilience above 90,000 is impressive, but we remain cautious about the negative geopolitical shock from the U.S.-China tensions, particularly amid the global market uncertainty. Furthermore, the lack of the near-term crypto-specific catalyst leaves the market vulnerable to the negative price shocks. And in this environment, a defensive approach and risk management are key, especially given the large liquidations observed just on the Monday. In breaking news, fellas, Czech Republic president signed the law removing the capital gains tax on the biddy after 3 years of hodling. Hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang. What a genius move. I hope Trump follows in that footstep. Now, Eric Trump made a tweet, feels like a great time to enter Bitcoin. And I retweeted and put, it's an excellent time, Eric. Phenomenal. And Michael Saylor said, there is no better time. There is no second best. And Eric Wise said, it is always a great time to buy the biddy. And ain't that the truth? And now let's pull up some of the live chart action Jackson for you guys. You should be able to see here on your screen. This is the live charts via Coinbase, the largest exchange here in the States, via TradingView. This is the 1 hour chart. We do have some bull signals and targets. One sitting at 102,300. Zooming out from the 1 hour, checking out the 4 hour. 4 hour chart still has the 130,000 target in play. I believe it'll happen here in Q1. I hope it happens here in February. And checking out the 1 day chart, you can see a corrective red yesterday, big one today. Still in the red as well. Zooming out from the daily, we check out the weekly. We still have the sexy cup and handle target pattern of 124,000. Overall, the trajectory of the 1 week looking pretty bullish, but we have been trading sideways past few weeks. And zooming out from the weekly, take a quick look at the monthly. Survey says it's going up forever, Laura. And as you can see, already forming a red candle for the month of February. January, we had an itty bitty green, and December, itty bitty red, and November, the biggest green candle we have seen since the inception of the Genesis block. And if you don't know, now you know, broskies. Next story headline here reads, Satoshi Nakamoto still holding 107 billion worth of the biddy in thousands of wallets. That's right. Bitcoin's mysterious anonymous creator, Satoshi, holds more than 107 billion worth of the biddy. According to Arkham Intelligence, they recently added 22,000 Satoshi addresses to the database, listing total holdings of 1.09 million BTC. So there you have it. Satoshi has over 1 million Bitcoin spread out over 22,000 wallets. Now, Arkham relies on Sergio's, shout out Sergio, Lerner's Satoshi pattern theory, which exploits 3 privacy-related flaws, version 0.01 in early Bitcoin protocol to pinpoint the blocks that were likely mined by Satoshi. Lerner's theory argues that a single miner mined 22,000 of the early Bitcoin blocks. He also says Satoshi was likely mining during that time. And there is evidence that links the Patoshi patterns to Satoshi, based on public info, such as the blockchain. Holdings of more than 107 billion would make Nakamoto the 15th richest person on the planet on paper, and shout out to paper, ahead of Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates, everyone's worst enemy. Enemy 101 for humanity, I would dare say, per Forbes real-time billionaire list. Coinbase director Connor Grogan combed through Arkham's findings and noted Patoshi addresses received Bitcoin from a Savertex, which is a Canadian exchange. Also noted they bought were bought by Kraken in 2016. They took over that exchange. And as such, there is a chance that Kraken's co-founder, Jesse Powell, has info on the true identity behind Satoshi. If they maintained any KYC information on this wallet, my advice to him would be to delete the data. And that's actually quite powerful. We are all Satoshi. I mean, that part is right. And if you're not familiar with Kraken, I believe it's the second largest crypto exchange in the United States, right behind Coinbase. And Jesse Powell is an OG. And they say allegedly he may know the identity of Satoshi. Let me know your thoughts on that. Next story of the day, broskies. Let's discuss the latest from the BlackRock to launch a Bitcoin exchange-traded product in Europe. According to the latest report, that's right, the largest asset manager in the entire planet is preparing to launch the Bitcoin ETP in Europe, according to the February 5th report by Bloomberg. The move comes after BlackRock's U.S. spot Bitcoin ETF, IBIT, drew upwards of $57 billion in new assets launching in January. Net assets, that is, of 2024. BlackRock's IBIT fund is America's most popular spot Bitcoin ETF. BlackRock's European Bitcoin ETP will reportedly be domiciled in Switzerland. The asset manager plans to start marketing the fund as soon as this month. Let's go. Bloomberg said, citing people familiar with the matter, BlackRock is the top ETF issuer, $4.4 trillion in assets under management across the suites of the ETPs. This could be BlackRock's first Bitcoin ETP outside of North America as BlackRock continues to take over the planet. BlackRock has been doubling down on the Biddy success with international expansions. Back in January, BlackRock launched a new Bitcoin ETF called the CBOE Canada. The ETF allows Canadian investors to access BlackRock's flagship U.S. spot Bitcoin fund. Overall, U.S. Bitcoin ETFs saw more than $35 billion in aggregate net inflows last year, roughly $144 million in net inflows each trading day, according to Farside. In November, U.S. Bitcoin ETFs broke $100 billion in net assets for the first time, according to Bloomberg. And crypto analysts expect Bitcoin ETFs to attract another roughly $48 billion worth of the net inflows this year, 2025. Bitcoin has become a more important component of investor portfolios structurally as they increasingly seek to hedge against geopolitical risks and inflation, investment bank JP Morgan said in a December report, citing the record capital inflow to the crypto market. Surging institutional inflows, I call it FOMO like a mofo, can cause the positive demand for the shocks for the Biddy, potentially sending the Biddy price soaring in 2025. I mean, that's a given. We all know preload Biddy going up. The question is, how high will the peak go? Let me know what you think. Max is calling for 2.2 million. Samson Mao is calling for 1 million. We'll be discussing that later. And he says it's going to happen violently fast, meaning it can happen in a matter of weeks to months. It's not going to be a slow grind to a milli. And I've been projecting 1.1 million as my bull scenario for the cycle this year. My bear scenario is 222. And my base case for the broskies, 420. Let me know your thoughts. Let's discuss the strategic Bitcoin reserve in South Dakota. Headline reads, South Dakota likely to lead the nation with the very first Bitcoin reserve. Well, that's according to their state representative, Logan Manhart. He declared February 4th that his state may soon become the first of the nation to pass the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill, citing South Dakota's notable short legislation session and the imminent deadline mid-March. South Dakota has one of the shortest legislative sessions in the country. It is likely South Dakota will be the first state of the nation to pass a Bitcoin reserve bill. Send it. A user questioned whether the legislature was still in session, referencing the common misconception that it ended in January. Manhart clarified, yeah, it goes until the second week of March. 40 legislative days. Everyone knows that. The drive to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve in South Dakota came to light when Manhart first revealed Jan 28th. I am proud to say I will be bringing a bill to the South Dakota House that would create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now is one of the few chances government has at being proactive. Let's have the convo. House Bill 1202, introduced Jan 30th, is the vehicle for that initiative. The legislation introduced Manhart as the prime sponsor, supported Representative Aaron Aylward, Phil Jensen, and Dylan Jordan, as well as Senator Carl Perry, who would permit the State Investment Council to allocate up to 10% of the state funds into the Biddy. The bill outlines that custody of any acquired Bitcoin must be arranged either through a secure custody solution overseen by the state itself, by a qualified custodian, or via an ETF by federal regulators being approved. It further details stringent requirements for the safekeeping of the private keys, including multi-party governance, encrypted storage, and thorough disaster recovery planning. The proposed measure saw its first reading in the House of February 3rd, after which it was sent to the House Senate Affairs for further consideration. Manhart's comments appear against the backdrop of intensifying competition amongst multiple U.S. states to become the first to establish the strategic Bitcoin reserve as the global hash wars compete. And although a number of states have introduced or entertained legislation designated to create such reserves, South Dakota and Utah recently taken center stage in discussions about which might cross the finish line first. Let me know who you think it'll be. Do you think it'll be Utah, home of the Mormons, or will it be South Dakota? I don't know what's in South Dakota, so I'd say home of something, but please help me fill in the blank. And let me know if you think all the states of the U.S. will eventually adopt it. That's now over 15 states who are proposing strategic reserve bills, which get very exciting. 14 according to this article. Utah has become the 11th state to do so, Jan 20th, under the leadership of Rep. Jordan Tusher, and has only 45 days in its legislative session to approve or reject the proposal. And then we have Dennis Porter, CEO of the Satoshi Action Fund, argue Utah's compressed timeline, coupled with the robust political backend, makes it a prime contender to pass its bill before any other state. So that might be number one. It's either sink or swim in 45 days. No other state has a faster calendar, and no one else has the political momentum and willpower to get her did. Here's the new rebrand information regarding Strategy, formerly known as MicroStrategy. And then we'll discuss Samson Mao's very bullish price prediction. He believes it'll be a violent upheaval to $1 million, and it'll happen super fast within weeks to months. And then we'll dive into our live Q&A and go from there. So yeah, this is the big news. MicroStrategy rebrands to Strategy, and they adopt the Bitcoin logo. They made this big announcement. Business intelligence firm Bitcoin Treasury Company, the first to put the BITI on the balance sheet, the one and only, formerly known as MicroStrategy, now known as Strategy. Let me know if you think the new name is cool. And according to the February 5th announcement, the newly rebranded company will continue focusing on providing business intelligence software and pursuing its Bitcoin corporate treasury strategy. The company has an earnings call scheduled for, that was yesterday, and I believe they said they're going to escalate the Bitcoin buying in the fourth quarter of this year. Michael Saylor, co-founder of MicroStrategy and a Bitcoin evangelist, the Bitcoin alchemist, popularized the Bitcoin corporate treasury strategy, which continues to attract newfound adopters in the tech industry. As you can see right here, family. Now, other companies have been following Saylor's lead, obviously. Saylor's company Strategy now has 471,107 BITI in the reserve, valued at $45.6 billion, making the company the world's largest corporate hodler of the BITI. And following the company's implementation of the Bitcoin treasury strategy, the corresponding increase of the share price, other publicly traded companies took a page from the MicroStrategy playbook, we call it the Saylor put, and diversified their treasury reserves with Bitcoin. So like if Michael Saylor can borrow billions of dollars by converting these convertible stocks and doing this alchemy, and can purchase billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin using other people's money at a 0% interest, not have to pay it back for like 5 years, I want to do the same thing. And that's precisely what Metaplanet's now doing. The Japanese investment firm focused on Web3 initiatives. They announced the adoption of the Bitcoin Treasury Reserve strategy in April of 2024. January, Metaplanet CEO Simon said the company's goal is to increase its treasury holdings to 10,000 of the BITI this year. We also have Semler Scientific, who established the corporate Bitcoin reserve in May of 2024. The company's shares increased 30% because now they have the backing of the Bitcoin community, and now we're talking about them every day. The smartest move you can do is adopt Bitcoin for the treasury if you're a company, especially a publicly traded company, just like they're doing, and you're witnessing their stocks soar to the moon, Laura. And speaking of the Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville, executives from Semler and Metaplanet said their firms were zombie companies until adopting Pretty Little Bitty. And now Pretty Little Bitty has transformed their companies just like it transformed Strategy, formerly known as the MicroStrategy. The company, Zombie Company, is a firm that manages operational solvent but has no excess capital for growth. So it's like kind of like a dying company in a way. Unlike Michael Saylor's company that is thriving since putting the BITI on the balance sheet back in 2020. They got the first mover's advantage. He had the balls and he pursued. And now he puts his money where his mouth is, and he continues to buy the Biddy virtually every week for the company. Now, also Rumble, the video streaming platform we're live on right now, dedicated to the free speech, announced a plan to allocate $20 million to Bitcoin as a hedge against the inflation. The video streaming platform purchased its first Bitcoin in January of this year, directly ahead of the inauguration of the President Trump of the United States of America. And another headline, MicroStrategy, Now Strategy, records a $670 million net loss in Q4, which they just announced on their earnings call. So their fourth quarter loss came as it stacked another 218,887 Bitcoin, its most aggressive quarter to date. And if you don't know, now you know. Crypto broskies. But now for our feature story of the day. Jan 3 Samson Mow. He says it's not going to be a gradual, slow increase to $1 million of Bitcoin, but rather a very short and violent upheaval that sends us there in a matter of weeks to months. So take that, Bitcoin haters. And shout out to the Nipinator holding it down. But yeah, this was actually a recent interview clip he did. It's just about a 1-minute clip segment. I'm actually going to repost it right here. It's pretty good. I watched it this morning, and that gave me the idea for the feature story of the day. So what are your thoughts on that? When Bitcoin does truly rip like super cycle, and I'll give you some evidence to suggest that we will be in a super cycle and that we're already in one. But what are your thoughts of just ripping straight to 1 million in a matter of weeks to months when everyone least expects it, as Samson Mow is suggesting? Let me know. Now, check this out. Bitcoin is in a super cycle. We haven't had a real alt season since 2021. Instead, and FYI, 2021 was the prior cycle all-time high. We reached the pinnacle, I believe it was November 10th when we hit 69,000. Instead, we have transitioned to an era where we sporadically have echo bubbles post large Bitcoin rallies. The 4-year cycle has been dead. Understand the new paradigm. Now, I've heard Michael Saylor say this in one of his own talks, that he believes the 4-year cycles are done and over with, and that we're going to be in a continuous bull cycle for the next 10 years. Do you agree with that theory? Let me know your thoughts, because if we are in a super cycle, these $2 million price predictions from Samson or Max Keiser become very probable. I want you to note that. Now that I shared that, I also want to touch upon here, Arthur Hayes says Bitcoin Reserve may end up a potent political weapon. Now, who was the first to prophesize the global hash wars and who actually coined that term? Max Keiser. So I got to give Max credit where credit is due. But the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve in the U.S. could be a net negative for the industry, as it could be used as a political weapon, and even reversed if Dems win the election in 2028 and decide to sell the stockpile according to the industry executive. So, for example, let's say Trump creates the stockpile, and over the course of the 4 years as president, let's just hypothetically say they acquire 1 million Bitcoin, conservative number, because that's the number Cynthia Lummis proposed, right? And then let's say Trump loses, or obviously he can't be reelected a third time unless they change the law. So we get some other president who's like Hunter Biden, just for the sake of the argument. And then Hunter's like, we're going to sell all the stockpile, 1 million Bitcoin. We're going to reverse everything the Trumpster did, and bada boom, bada bing. It's weaponized. Think about that. But broadly speaking, he says, many misguided crypto folks wish for the U.S. government to print dollars and purchase Bitcoin as part of the national stockpile. I believe these folks are asking for the wrong things, said Maelstrom Fund Chief Investment Officer Arthur Hayes just blaze. Hayes argues that the potential Bitcoin stockpile would simply be another financial asset that could be both bought and sold. There'd be 1 million Bitcoin just sitting there, ready to be sold. It just takes a signature on a piece of paper, aka an executive order. And he's right. It turns Bitcoin's reserve or national stockpile of shitcoins held by the U.S. government into a political weapon, and potent one, that is. Hayes, who was one of the founders of BitMEX, acknowledged that Bitcoin's reserve would initially make Bitcoin's price go nuts, like Peanut the squirrel, but said whether the U.S. buys or sells more of the Biddy, it would be primarily for political and not financial gains. Let me know if you agree or disagree with Arthur Hayes' blaze. And if President Trump, the POTUS, fails to slow the inflation, stop the wars, and fix the food supply for 2026 and save America, the Democrats could build political momentum, win the House majority, and potentially even punish the crypto investors who supported the Orange Man in 2024 election, according to Arthur Hayes. Just blaze. Others have been more optimistic about the prospect of the national Bitcoin stockpile. Asset management giant VanEck recently predicted the Bitcoin reserve could reduce America's national debt by 35% by 2049, while Strategy's executive chairman Mikey Saylor believes it could strengthen the U.S. dollar, help the U.S. lead the world in the 21st century digital economy. Now, Hayes acknowledged that in theory, Bitcoin can serve as a better treasury asset than most, highlighting the network's immutable code, permissionless access, and it being the purest monetary energy derivative humanity has imagined. Perfect money, impregnable, unf-wittable, unconfiscatable. Speculation for the Bitcoin reserve strengthened when Trump announced the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which he just signed the executive order for, which U.S. Senator Lummis introduced the Bitcoin reserve bill, later claimed was a big deal. A strategic Bitcoin reserve under the Trump administration is still under consideration. And as you know, Trump Jr., Eric Trump, tweeted earlier today, feels like a great time to enter Bitcoin. And then all this talk about a Bitcoin Plus trading at $1 on Coinbase is kind of driving me nuts. So I can't wait to get to the bottom of this. But anyways, let me know your thoughts. And do you think we'll get the strategic Bitcoin reserve? And one last quote from Arthur Hayes just blazed. The end result is miners turn off their machines as they can no longer pay for the energy required to run them. Without the miners, the network dies and Bitcoin vanishes. What the hell are we talking about here? He says he is opposed to the spot. Regarding the ETFs, he thinks they could completely destroy Bitcoin as the funds would be vacuumed up into the vault. And even Max Kaiser has predicted that the Bitcoin ETF BTC can be confiscated by U.S. government. All it takes is an executive order, and obviously nobody trusts BlackRock, and especially if you understand how evil they are and the evil they do. But anyways, I digress. Let me know your thoughts. And where do you feel the Pretty Little Bitty will likely take us? Do you think we hit the super cycle? Do you think we're in the super cycle? Are we in an extended cycle, or will the 4-year cyclical cycle remain? And what are your thoughts on Samson Mouse saying we're going to have a violent upheaval, a Bitcoin smash on a million, Omega candle, Satoshi candle, JV candle, Chandy candle, Nippy candle? Holla at your boy, and welcome everyone to the Q&A segment of the live stream. What it do?